So you wanna sell your home, no need to stress, Realtor Steven. Noel is here to show you the way. Listen to it and you will make the most money in the shortest amount of time. Or you can just hire him and he will heal for you when you carry rising shade. He will take excellent care of you.
All right. Awesome. Hey, folks, this is Stephen Dow with Keller Williams First Choice Realty. And I am super excited to be with you all here tonight or today, whenever you're watching. A little bit about me. Let's talk about the elephant in the room, my voice. Okay, in 24, I got sicker than a dog. And I spent most of that year in the hospital. And I was on the vent. When I came to, I pulled the vent out myself. And I damaged my vocal cords. Guys, I laid in that bed for weeks and wasn't even able to turn over. I died twice. But I do not quit. It's been a long, hard road. I had to learn how to sit up, walk, talk, the whole 9 yards. But I don't quit. And that's exactly the skill you need in a realtor. I have moved to Bowling Green. I have went finally back to work, and I'm ready to put my skills to work for you. Just so you know, I started my own company. Within 3 years, we had 3 offices. We were doing nearly $100 million a year in sales. And I've been involved as an agent or broker in more than 2,000 real estate transactions, closed real estate transactions. All right, I want to thank you all for attending. I believe you're going to learn some valuable information that's going to put money in your pocket. So let's get down to it. One of the first things as a seller you need to understand that most do not. Selling your home is a financial, not emotional situation to be in. Too many times, sellers let their emotions and their pride keep them from making the most money possible. Today, it's about education. We're going to teach you some of the pitfalls to avoid, some things you can do to increase your profitability, and how you can make this all happen quicker. Think of me as a guide. I'm not a salesman. All right. So, step 1. Why should you sell? There are many reasons why people want to sell their homes. Lifestyle changes, such as change of job, marriage, or divorce. Children, education, increase or decrease in wages, even health, which is what brought me to sell my home in Somerset and move to Bowling Green, something I couldn't have even imagined doing. Selling is strategic, not emotional. Step 2, understanding your home's value. Sellers often base the price of their home simply on what they have invested. This is the wrong strategy. I'm going to be real honest with you. Buyers could care less what you paid when you bought it or how much renovations have cost you. The only thing that they're thinking about is which home gives me the most for my money today. Let me use an analogy that maybe is a little bit easier to understand. Let's say it's lunchtime and you're hungry. McDonald's has a special on a quarter pound hamburger for 99 cents. Burger King is running a special on a quarter pound hamburger for $1.99. Where are you going? Most all of you, regardless of whether you really like McDonald's the most or not, are going to go where you get the biggest bang for your buck. Real estate is no different. When you go to put your home on the market, you need to know what you are competing against and how you stack up against them. So, how do you do that? Well, first of all, you need to know your square footage. How do you do that? Well, you can, of course, measure the outer dimensions of your home. Garages do not count. A basement does not count unless it is finished. And you multiply the length times the width. Or you can simply go on your county's PVA website. And you may be able to find it there. But you need to know that number. You need to know what your square footage is. And you need to know the square footage of the homes similar to yours. Now, you cannot go off of a Zestimate or some online estimate of your home's value. Those are notorious for being wrong. Go to my website, which is realtorstephendow.kw.com. And in the middle there, you're going to see the search bar. Put in your area. It's going to take you to another screen. In the top right corner, you're going to see filters. Let's say that your square footage is 2,000 square feet. Put in 1,900 to 2,100. And those homes are in your size range. Those are the homes you'll be most likely to compete against. If no homes show up, first of all, that's a good thing. It means you don't have much competition. But simply reset the parameters to 1,800 to 2,200, and you'll eventually get some comps down. Take into consideration things like age, a basement, a garage, fencing, a pool, any big ticket items that would cost someone a lot of money to make it comparable. So you don't need to pay for an expensive appraisal or anything like that. Find the homes that you're competing against and price yourself competitively per square foot. Okay? The dangers of overpricing your property, longer time on market, lowball offers, appraisal issues. One of the things I tell sellers in the listing appointment is that if they're overpricing, even if I can get someone to agree to your price, unless they're paying cash, we will have to go through an appraisal process. And at that time, when they pull the comps, your price is going to be out of line. And the only thing that we will have accomplished is tying your home up for several more weeks. Because once home goes under contract, it pretty much stops the showings. All right. And of course, the dangers of underpricing is you lose money. So we need a CMA, comparable market analysis of homes with similar square footage and, if at all possible, the same amount of land. Okay. Now let's talk about preparing your home for market. Make no mistakes. Real estate is a beauty pageant. The prettiest ones sell first and for the most money. If your home is cluttered and unkept, it will cost you money, like thousands of dollars. When a buyer walks in the door, it has to look like a home where they can have a good and peaceful life. When buyers are looking, that's peace is a huge factor they're looking for. Can they have peace with the neighbors? Can they have solitude within their home? Do not underestimate the value of peaceful. So when they walk through the door, if you've got some light, scented candles, some soft classical music, turned down low so they can still talk, then you have created a buying atmosphere. Curb appeal is extremely important. For example, I have noticed that homes with shrubbery that is large and blocks the view of the house presents a challenge. Nothing should block a window. At showings, blinds should be open, lights should be turned on. If I'm your agent, I'm going to arrive to that showing early so that I can ensure those things are done. And I'm going to stay late so that I can return it to the way you had it when I walked in the door. But you want as much light as possible because dark homes feel smaller, and they're depressing. You want neutralizing decor. You may love orange, but most people do not. So, as much as you can, your home needs to be neutral in color or tone, not bland. There is a difference. Keep this in mind. First impressions determine final price. Now, let's talk about a marketing strategy. Most homeowners seriously underestimate the difficulty and the time it takes to sell a home. Buyers, especially first time home buyers, are extremely needy and can be difficult. Now, when I say that, I don't want to give you the wrong impression. They're not hard to get along with or necessarily hard to please, but they're nervous. This is their first big purchase, and they're scared to death of making the wrong decision. And they need their hand held, so to speak. The amount of calls that you will receive is just mind boggling. It can be very overwhelming. And buyers will call you at 1 o'clock in the morning and not think a thing about it. So, vetting buyers can be extremely tricky. And for someone not used to the process, it can feel impossible. So, be prepared to waste a lot of valuable time on people who cannot complete the purchase. And they know they can't complete the purchase. In addition to that, people's schedules are rushed. And so when a true buyer wants or needs to look at your home, what if you're out of town or out of work, at work? You need to have a contingency plan, a way of getting someone in your home at a moment's notice. Because if you think people are going to make appointments, that's rare. And if you put in your advertisement, shown by appointment only, that's what I call the kiss of death. Be prepared to lose a lot of people. When people go out with an agent or by themselves to look at homes, they are super excited. It can be hectic and crazy. And, they may be out looking at one home and find yours. And at the spur of the moment, boom, they want to look at yours too. Happens all the time. So, you have to always be ready to show that home. Which also means that the home needs to be show ready at all times. You're hearing my dog Sammy. There must be somebody outside. However, if a showing request comes in at a moment's notice and the home is not show ready, show that home. If a buyer puts you on the spot and wants to see your home like that, you will not lose a real buyer over a mess at that point. Now, if they've made an appointment 2 to 3 days in advance. Yes, they're expecting your home to be show ready. But if they put you on the spot, they are so grateful for getting in, they'll overlook the mess. However, if you turn them down, they get insulted and offended, and most of the time, you lose that buyer. Now, when someone contacts you for a showing, you need to ask them to text you a picture of their pre-approval letter. And if they're not pre-approved, you say, well, when you get that, you call me back. You will not lose a true buyer. But if you don't do that, you will waste a lot of time and open your home to people who cannot and know they cannot buy. And that is risky, to say the least, and could be dangerous. And before I forget, if somebody comes to your door, whether it's listed or not, and wants to come in and see your home, you do not let them. That is never a true buyer. That is someone with ulterior motives. And you need to, as soon as they leave, call the police. And let your agent know if you have one. Get their name, get their number, and tell them you'll have your agent call them. Be sure to get that information. MLS exposure. MLS stands for Multiple Listing Service. When you list your home with a realtor, they put it, or their office staff puts it into the multiple listing service. And what that does is that allows all of the realtors, not real estate agents, there is a difference, but it allows all of the realtors to have access to that information and to showcase your home on their websites. So it is by far the most powerful selling tool there is. When your home goes into the MLS, it is seen on hundreds of websites, both local, regional, and national. People no longer search for homes by driving around looking for sale signs. More than 95% of all buyers start their search on the internet. Now, putting your home on Zillow or Marketplace or both is great. You should do that. But it's a drop in the bucket. It's a very small percentage of buyers that's going to see your home on those spots. It's like fishing from a puddle when you could be fishing in the lake. Point is, you're getting a much smaller audience. All right, this next thing, most of you are going to refuse to do, and it's going to cost you money and time. You need to make a video of your home, and you need to be in the video. Do not worry. It does not need to be cinema quality or like a trailer or anything like that. Just a simple video showing the highlights of your home. Nothing negative. With you talking about the features. Does wonders in the cell phone. It's important that you're in the video because that creates familiarity, and familiarity builds trust. One of the things that hurts for sub owners the most is that buyers don't trust you. Did you know that even though very few homes are sold without an agent, nearly all of real estate lawsuits are from homes sold by the owners? A very small percentage is from transactions that had a real estate agent or realtor involved. So, trust is a real issue. And the way you overcome that is through familiarity. And the way you do that is by being in that video. All right. Marketing problems. Who are you targeting? Many of you that want to sell the home yourself do so because you don't want to pay somebody to put up a sign and just wait for somebody to call. And granted, there are agents that do just that. None of the successful ones do that. But I understand. You need to know who your target audience is. For example, if you have a 4-bedroom home, you do not need to advertise to people 50 years of age and older. For the most part, their children are grown and gone. Same thing, if you have a 1-bedroom, you don't go looking for families. That is not going to meet their needs. So you need to find your ideal buyer and focus your advertising on them. You've got to pay attention to your photos. I cannot stress enough the importance of accurate, inviting photos. Accurate is just as important as good. Don't oversell it. If you make your property look better than it actually is, then when people do come to look, they're immediately going to be disappointed. And they're not going to buy. Here's one that I see a lot. If it's winter time, don't use summer photos, and vice versa. That gives the appearance your home has been for sale for a long time. And just like in the grocery store, when things aren't moving, they get discounted. And when homes sit too long, they get discounted. You've got to have good negotiation leverage. If you're selling the home yourself and a potential buyer comes through and they're interested, a couple of things. First of all, they're probably going to start nitpicking. And that's where sellers often lose it and get insulted and mad and blow their deal. Don't do that. If they're talking negatively, it's because they're interested. If they weren't interested, they wouldn't care that the countertop has a chip in it. It wouldn't matter. That's just an example. They are trying to get you to see that you're asking too much and they can get it for a cheaper price. And they'll come around and tell you, what's your bottom dollar price? And what are you going to say? You need to have an answer for that. Also, I know you think that by not hiring an agent, you're going to put more money in your pocket. Here's why that's not true. Buyers are smart. They know you're not paying a commission. So if they make an offer, guess what they're going to do? Automatically, they're going to deduct 6% from their offer because you're not paying a commission. So you shouldn't get to keep that. And that's going to be their mindset. Just like your mindset is I'm going to hire an agent so I can save that money or put that money in my pocket. So, let me see where I got to. I want you to understand, and this is not a selling tactic, realtors do make sellers money. And here's how you know that's true. Because if they didn't, they would have went away a long time ago. If we didn't actually have value, if we were useless or pointless or a waste of time and money, we would have went out of business a long time ago. And instead, what has happened over the years, more and more and more sellers hire an agent. Selling your own home has become less and less and less profitable over the years. Okay. We've already talked about making sure that they have a pre-approval letter before you agree, having them send it to you in a picture, never ever letting someone in your door, managing showing schedules. This is one of the hardest parts about selling your home. As we've already discussed, a lot of people will just call and want to see your home like that. It's very important that you have someone who's going to be available at all times so that you can get someone in at the spur of the moment. Now, let's talk about open houses. They work. And if a realtor tells you, oh, they don't work, that is not the person you need to hire. Because if you as a realtor work that open house correctly. They work. Even when no one shows up. Because here's what it's a lot. People are interested in your house. They have not made an offer. They see you're having an open house. They get scared they're going to lose it, and they go ahead and pull the trigger and make the offer. Also, what happens a lot is they see the advertising for the open house. They have a prior commitment after work, whatever the case may be. But they come 2-3 days later, whatever the case may be, and they buy the home because of the open house advertising. Now, it'd be really hard for you to correctly advertise an open house, and it may cost you some dollars. But if you decide to go this route, have a sign-in sheet. Ask these people for their name and their phone number so you can follow up. Listen to me carefully. All of the money in real estate is made in the follow-up. Follow-up is key. All right, let's talk about negotiations. It is not always just about price. Terms can matter too. I have seen several times multiple offers, and the seller choose to go with a lower sales price for more favorable terms, such as possession, earnest money. I don't care if you get an offer above your asking price. If there is no earnest money associated with that offer, do not take your house off the market, because well over 90% of deals with no earnest money fall apart, and you've just taken your house off the market and wasted time. Now, I don't know how earnest money would work if you're selling your home yourself because you need an escrow account. With realtors, that money goes into the buyer's agent's escrow account. Nobody can touch that money till the closing. Not the buyer, not the seller, not the agent, without everybody agreeing to it. Most buyers are going to want an inspection. That's standard. They pay for it. Make sure in the contract that the inspections are determined how long it will be, and that there is wording that it has to be a licensed professional inspector. Uncle Rob can't come say that your furnace needs to be replaced because he's just trying to get his kids a new furnace. It has to be a licensed, reputable inspector. And you want no longer than 14 days for that inspection to be done And here's why. While you're waiting on that inspection, your home can't be sold to anyone else. If those people are going to refuse the home based on the inspection, you want to know about it quickly. If there's an appraisal gap, you're going to have to give. Often, we can get the buyer to give and the seller, so it's not all on the seller. But if you're trying to sell your home for $300 and it's worth $275, you're going to have to hang it up because that's what you're going to get. Okay. Not every home can be sold to every buyer. What do I mean by that? Certain loans, like the VA loan, the FHA loan, the rural housing loan, have requirements that the home must meet. For example, everything has to be in working order. There can't be any broken windows, light sockets that don't work, nothing like that. Stairs taller than 18 inches must have a rail. Now, it can be some 2x4s nailed together, but it has to have a railing. If there's a crawl space, there has to be 18 inches in the crawl space. So, make sure you know the kind of loan the buyer's getting and if your home will qualify for those loans. When you receive an offer, do not accept an open-ended offer. There needs to be a closing date. Be prepared that that closing date will need a 1 to 2 week extension. But you need a date. If not, then that thing could go on for 6 months and still not close. And all you've done is tied your home up for nothing. In today's real estate market, it is not uncommon, listen closely, for buyers to request seller concessions. What does that mean? That means they're asking the seller to pay their closing costs for their loan. Why do they do this? Because they do not have it. And if you refuse, you've killed the deal. So how do you handle that? Well, here's how. For simple math, and I know it's your home's more than this, but let's say your home is for sale for $100,000 and you get an offer of $100,000 with $5,000 in seller concessions. That means they're asking for $5,000 to go towards closing costs, which means, in actuality, you have a $95,000 offer. Here's how you handle that. If you come back and you say, no, we're not paying the closing costs, you have killed the deal. So what you do is you counter back at $105,000. Yes, you go over your asking price. And you say, At 105, we will include the 5,000 in closing costs. Look, I have never seen a deal fall apart over the closing costs in that way. They're so happy they can get the house. They don't care to go above this price. So that's the same thing, a straight $100,000 deal with no closing costs. You simply added the amount they're asking for to the price, and everybody's happy, and everybody wins. So that's how you handle that. Okay, let's talk about inspections and appraisals. Inspection negotiations. First of all, before I forget it, one of the big things that happens that kills deals is they find water in the crawl space. That will kill a deal. This is an easy, cheap fix. Walk around the perimeter of your home. Look at all of the downspouts. Make sure that you have an elbow at the end and you have some way where that's one of those green plastic shields or the black plastic pipe, whatever. Make sure that your downspouts are directing the rainwater away from your house. You would be amazed to know the deals that have potentially fallen apart over this very simple, cheap, easy fix. So don't let that happen to you. Okay. Now, you may think if you're selling your home on your own that you are not required to follow the same laws as a realtor would. And for the most part, you'd be wrong. In the state of Kentucky, if you're selling a home that's not new construction and that has 1 to 4 families living in it, it's like a duplex, triplex, quadplex, you must have a seller's disclosure. The seller's disclosure is a form. You get it on the KREC website under forms. And it is your statement of the home's condition. Most sellers don't have this, and that's one of the reasons why they're involved in so many lawsuits. You must have this. Let's say that you have a deal on your home and inspection is done. The buyer's not happy with inspection, so they want out. So they show you what the inspector found. Once you are made aware of a problem, you are legally bound to disclose that problem to all future buyers. And if you don't, you run the risk of a serious liability in court. There are some things that you're just better off to fix and and keep the deal together. For example, termites. Most buyers want a termite inspection. They pay for it unless it is a VA loan. The seller must pay for the termite inspection on a VA loan. That's standard procedure. But let's say it comes back with termites. You might as well go ahead and pay to have it treated, because nobody's going to buy a home with termites. And if you don't disclose it, you could have some expensive. Excuse me. It's late at night. You could have some expensive trouble. So it's in your best interest to do that. So going into it, you may want to price your home with repairs in mind. Now, the buyer has several options. He can say, based on this inspection, I no longer want the house. Gets his earnest money back. He can say, I knew those things were wrong. I'll take it like it is. Or he can say, I'm still interested. I'll take it if these things are fixed. Now, as a seller, you have the right to say, I'm not fixing anything. You take it like it is or forget it. Or you can say, I'll fix 3 of the 5 things. Or you could say, look, I don't know how to fix anything. I would gladly just give you a credit on the house. And that can be another way. All right. When the appraisal is done, we're talking about the closing now. When the appraiser comes out, the appraisal is not done that day. It is typically 3 to 7 business days after they come out that the appraisal is actually done. At that time, it is typically 2 to 3 weeks before you have the closing. Now, most sellers don't know they can communicate with the buyer's lender. The lender can't tell you anything confidential, but you can and should keep them on their toes to get things done. Don't be afraid to put a little pressure there. Now, don't overdo it. You got to handle these people with kid gloves, and you cannot afford to make them mad. But you need to let them know of time constraints that you're running up against, and you just need to stay on top of them. Some loan officers are excellent, and some are not, just like realtors in any profession. This next point is extremely important. I cannot stress it enough. Do not skip a final walkthrough. As close as you can to the closing, schedule the buyers for a final walkthrough where they come to the home and they agree and have them sign off that the home is in the same condition as when they looked at it and made the offer. You are setting yourself up for a world of liability if you don't do that. So let's recap common costly mistakes: over or under pricing, letting emotions drive you. Let's just be real honest. Buyers don't like to look anyway with an owner present. It is like your boss looking over your shoulder at work. It makes them nervous. It makes them feel unease. And those are all things that keep them from making offers. So, if the home is vacant, step outside and let them look. If your things are still there, go in another room. Let them look by themselves. If you have pre-qualified them, you've got that pre-approval, you can rest assured they're legitimate people. Remember, if they have a negative comment, don't react. Now, if you decided to hire an agent, make sure you're asking the right questions. Like, what is your sales price to list price ratio? What does that mean? Well, on average, my sales price to list price ratio is 98%. Now, what that means is, if I list a property for 100,000, on average, I get 98. Sometimes I get 103, but sometimes I get 93. But if you average it all out, it's 98. What percentage of your listing sell? Well, mine is at 81%. The average right now in the Bowling Green market with all the agents is 44. What is your average days on market? Well, mine was 77. And at the time I was last in sales, the average was 121. When you ask these questions, they should be able to answer them just like they would if you asked them their name. And if they can't, that means they're not on top of their business. Some sellers, many sellers, base their decision on commission only. That is the wrong decision. And here's why. You're not hiring an agent. Simply unlock the door and let someone in. You're hiring them to negotiate the best price for you. Why would you hire an agent to get you the most money for your property who has clearly shown you that their answer to get business is to drop the price? If they give their own money away quickly in negotiating with you for the listing, what do you think they will do when it's your money and they're negotiating with you for an offer? Think of it like this. Ball players who can actually hit the ball make more money. Agents who can get the job done and put more money in your pocket are worth more. It's as simple as that, folks. When someone tells me, well, XYZ agent will do it for less, I say, and they should. If I plan to do what they're going to do, I would take less too. But I'm not. And here's the truth of it, folks. It is the listing agent, not the broker, who determines the marketing budget for the listing. A discount agent is simply going to slash that budget so they can keep as much in their pocket as possible. So the only one who loses is you. Now, while I work with a professional, we have experience in negotiations. We have market knowledge. We have contract expertise. We know how to manage risk. We have access to buyers. We have a vendor network. We have accountability. And as I've said, you don't hire an agent to put a sign in your yard. You hire an agent to protect your equity. Let's talk a little bit about choosing the right agent again. Don't just look at how long they've been licensed. There are agents who've been licensed for 20 years who don't do diddly. Look at their track record, number of transactions closed. That's a big factor. Every home sale has obstacles, and many agents hit an obstacle and give up. The number of transactions closed, especially per year, will tell you about their, what I call, stick-to-itiveness. Keep in mind that only the top 3% of agents do 50 transactions a year. Have them share with you the specifics of their marketing plan. You want to know exactly what they plan to do to market your home. Ask about their communication style. Ask about their market knowledge. Find out a little bit about their personal life. Are they married? Do they have children? What are their hobbies? Now, it may sound a little harsh, but that's going to give you a good idea of how much they actually work. Interview agents like you would if you were a manager trying to hire someone, because that is the exact situation. You're trying to hire someone. Here's some things I want to share with you that I offer. If you're thinking of selling your home, I would like to meet with you. There is no obligation to list. We will do a free home value review. We will do a private strategy session. And as always, folks, do well with Dow. Thank you so much. I hope this was helpful. If you have any questions, contact me at 606 425 3640. You're going to get a voicemail. Leave me a message. And I will call you back as soon as possible. Thank you so much.